$426,399. We're due for an oil change. Okay, pop the bonnet. Put it in neutral, put it up on the hoist or jack it up, put it on stands, make sure it's safe. Okay, open up the bonnet, have a quick look around. Make sure the bonnet goes all the way up. Make sure you got your cheap eBay special Macta, $20 delivered to your door, something like that. Bonnet strut, so your bonnet stays up. Take your oil cap off. All right, I'll do that in a minute. Pull your dipstick out. That's your yellow thing, so you're not going to forget that someone's going to go, why is the bonnet open? And you know, there's no accidents if you're draining your oil, right? So now we're going to raise the vehicle, put it on the stands, in this case, put up on the hoist, and take the sump plug out. We'll just get this out of the way. Let's go. DIYers, all you need is a dodgy little drain tray like this, right? 20 bucks online. This is the one we use. It pours out nice and easy. There's different options. Get whatever you want. Of course, there's the sump plug. I like to use my 14mm half-inch drive gear on the breaker bar. It just makes it a bit easier to open. 34 Newton meters is the torque spec. About 35 will do. Get yourself a chalk wrench. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's get the plug out and I'll show you the next step. I've just cracked that sump plug loose. Now you lift the drain tray up. I'm trying to show you how to do it. You know, if you've only got a drain tray or you've got the vehicle up high and you don't really want to, you know, let it fall all the way to the ground and splatter everywhere, depending on what vehicle and stuff like that. Sump plug's out. Minimal oil on the fingers, that's what you want. See, now it's draining out. Now we lower the drain tray to the floor. Right, no problem. You might hear it. It's a bada boom, bada bing situation. This is going to be a really quick oil change video with all those little tips and bits and pieces you need, and that's it. There it is, oil draining, that filthy black putrid stuff. I mean, you definitely want clean stuff in there protecting your expensive engine and turbo, right? Look after the heart of the beast, right? Look at that swirl, beautiful. And if you haven't followed the videos lately and done your injectors and stuff like that, injector maintenance that most people don't understand, then it's time to start watching that playlist, injector information, and bada bing, right? When this oil's drained, we're gonna have a look at the oil pickup. But for now, I'm out of here, back soon. Definitely dispose of your oil environmentally. What you do is, if you don't mind paying the extra 10%, you just buy the Penrite 7 litre, pour the 7 litres in, and then just pour this straight back in the 7 litre and take it down your local recycling depot. Should accept oil for free. If not, maybe one of your local auto stores takes it. I know Super Cheap Auto was taking it, but I can't guarantee if they still do. Maybe somebody can let us know in the comments. Now, until that oil finishes draining, you can see it's like a bubble there. And don't drop your camera or phone at this point, because kaplunk, straight into the oil. I can still hear people saying, which oil, which oil? Well, it doesn't matter which oil. This is what we use. But the engine doesn't worry too much about which oil, what brand it is, as long as it's not cheap rubbish, something half decent. This is a decent oil. Bada bing, bada boom. You can use whichever one you want, but proudly Australian owned. We like that. We like the extra 10. It's got the zinc in there. We believe it's a good product. We've seen good results from it, but you can use whatever you want. The main thing is that you are changing. And now that the oil's slowed down a bit, I reckon you're going to be able to see, so you can see that oil pickup's nice and shiny clear. It's a bit shiny because it's got oil on it, right? That's fine. You can stay here all day watching this drain, but we're going to give it 10 minutes and we're going to cap it up. And while we wait for that, I've got another little important thing for you to have a look at. Just a little bit of info for people thinking about underbody protection and shocker protection while the oil drains. You can see on this is our 120. It does some of the harder tracks. We're building up the Hilux to take over doing all the harder tracks and some. But this one's going to back off a little bit. It is typically the harder track vehicle, the high country vehicle, and you can see the Cohen fuel tank protection works really well. If you've been watching the videos on our 150 Prado, you'll notice we've got the monotube adjustables on the back, which we're not necessarily recommending you go get those. Watch the suspension playlist for what we do recommend and the information we have. But you'll notice we've got the Cohen shock guards on the rear of the 150, which is the touring vehicle. That's the one that currently goes on the outback tracks and travels at high speeds, and there's big rocks flicking up, and they belt the hell out of these rubbers. And these rubbers do really well, as you can see, and that's what this video is about. You can see there's one hole about there. Try and get the works better with a light on. Just get in there and see show you where one rock has hit. See, there's a hole there, right? It's not about the hole, because everything can come down. Usually I use these zip ties off. Just double check your top ones are good and they stay there. You might need to replace those if they get hit by rocks or get old and deteriorate. So that's a maintenance item, check them on services. But this bottom one, it'll get hit by rocks and get broken anyway. And there's holes in the bottom, as you can see, to let them drain out. But I normally not worry because it can't go anywhere. So normally I don't know why I put that one on, but I did, but it's all good. Point is, in the high country and traveling the way you normally do, you don't see too much rock damage. So I'm not saying that you absolutely have to have those K-on shock guards. Let's have a look at the other one so you can do a comparison each side. Look, it's got another hole up there, or just a bit of crap. No, that's all right. Just a bit of garbage. Not one hole in that one. So the rocks hit these, and they do really well. You dent them like that, you just pop it back out again, right? But they do. You can see the bolts have been hammered. This is what this vehicle. This vehicle used to do everything. The Outback, the tracks, the everything. It's been everywhere, done everything. You can see the bolts are hammered. But of course, you know, we look after them as much as we can, and we may have replaced those, to be quite honest. Not the washer, but the bolt, because sometimes there's nothing left of them. But what I'm saying is, so if you're doing those Outback tracks at high speed and you want to protect your bolts and your boots, kaon.com.au for those shock guards, which we haven't got on this vehicle. So this video is kind of unselling you a little bit, because you can see what happens. The rocks are hitting the shock absorber. You can see how much rock damage there is on that shock absorber, and you can see how good the boots are. So I'm not saying everybody needs the boots and you need them immediately. And the other option is also still the twin tubes. These certainly ride a lot smoother compared to the twin tubes, but there's nothing wrong with that, but it is a firmer ride at the rear. So I'm still recommending, it turned into a suspension video, still recommending the mono tubes at the front for anybody, because they're just awesome. And mono tubes most likely at the rear for most people, because the comfort's really good, even with the 329 springs, which we run in the back of both of our Prados. And we put a bit of rubber up the top there because we did have some issues with rubbing a little bit, so it's possible you could get that every now and then, but yeah, only one hole in that boot there, not too bad. This vehicle, remember, over 420,000 Ks. Now the last thing was, rarely do you hit this rear fuel tank unless you're a bad driver or you get unlucky, but maybe I'm unlucky or a bad driver, because recently I did get a rock or something into it about there, and it's, so you got the clearance to the tank. Now it's a metal tank and a metal guard. See this one, we're down to minimal or no clearance maybe. So this guard at some stage, there's a bit of clearance there. Look, two ways to look at it. Now that it's bent, it won't touch anymore, as long as it's not rubbing, okay? Other than that, next time I have it doing some major maintenance cleanup, I'll have it off and I'll just bash it out a little bit. I don't think Kaon do a rear fuel tank guard, because to be quite honest, you just don't need it. It's really, you know, this one's the one that's prone to all the damage. You can see quite a gouge in it there, but it doesn't get damaged like that factory one. Didn't wash off that oil leak too well. That's all fixed up, but it's still a little bit, it was a quick wash. We'll give it a better wash next time. We didn't want to force any of this dirt and debris back in past that nice new seal. That was a while ago now. It's certainly not leaking, but it just needs a bit more of a cleanup. And guess what? This oil finished draining, so it's time to move on with the oil change video, because that's what this is. So for me, after the plug goes in and I've torqued it up to 34, 35, you can see I've wiped it, but there's an oil residue, not good enough. Next is the brake cleaner. Brake cleaner leaves it a bit wet, but it'll dry up quickly, but we can speed it up. Next, I'll get a rag again, get another wipe of it. After that final wipe, you can see it is clean and dry. I mean, you know, it's dirty, but see around the hole, it's clean. Obviously, where we wipe, the dirt's come off. All the oil residue's gone. You can reuse those sump plug, the genuine ones, a couple of times or so, just see what condition they're like. You can replace it every time if you like for $2, but I can generally get probably 10 out of it, because I don't over tighten it. But you know what, I'm suggesting about every 3 or 4 services, you just put a new sump plug washer, genuine ones, bada bing, bada boom. A quick chat about while we're doing the oil change. So as I said, I was doing it every 5,000. Oil's too dear. I've changed to every 6 months or 10,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. It's now the end of June 2023. Last service was in January on all the vehicles. The 150's just been serviced early, and 120, as you saw, whatever it was, 426,000 something kilometers. So past the 5,000 K thing, and yeah, we'll get it again at another 6 months time. So it won't be 430, it'll be whatever it is, you know, and that'll be oil and filter this time. It's just oil this time. Yeah, brake cleaner, this cheap stuff, all right? It's all you need, all right? Little spray of that. Like I said, 7 litres, pour it in. That's what I'm going to do. 7 litres in, you can give that cap a bit of a clean up if you want. So all the dirt and debris on the outside of the oil cap that sometimes are there, depends how the vehicle is used, etc. So that they don't end up falling in the engine, and just nicely finger tight like that. It ain't going to go anywhere. You don't need to go or get pliers on it, all right? Now what we want to do is check that oil level. Now it's still draining down there, so it might not be there yet. Let's give it another minute. Probably also run the engine and let it settle. Right way to change your oil is obviously on flat ground. Check the oil level, sorry. Flat ground. Engine oil warm, switch it off and wait 5 minutes. So we haven't warmed it up, we haven't run it, we haven't waited 5 minutes, but we waited 2 minutes, and this is what we've got. Let's have a look at it. All right, you're not going to see It's gonna be hard for you to, this is one of those hard things again, trying to hold a camera. There it is, see just above the dot line up there already. Right, see there, just a little bit over. That's what putting in 7 litres will do to you, especially without the filter. And I don't mind a bit extra, so happy days, mate, as long as it's not more than 7. Anyway, so that's it, all change done. Just make sure you have got your approximately 7 litres in there. Check the level, make sure your dipstick's in all the way. That's another mistake. Sometimes those O-rings get dry. Sometimes they got oil on them, sometimes they get dirt and people don't clean things. Pull it out, clean it, put a bit of Molykote, bit of lube on the O-ring so it slips in and out at the end easy. Bit of oil will do if that's what you got. But yeah, I like the Molykote because it doesn't mess with the rubbers. Make sure that cap's on just nicely without any tools so that we can get it off next time, you know. Right, so you can do it tight if you like, just by hand nicely, you know. It's just an oil cap, okay? It's just an oil cap. Anyway, that's our oil change video done. Hopefully you got some information about the suspension as a bonus. So if you did watch the whole video, in the comments, please write bonus, just so you and me know what we're talking about. Nobody else does. There'll be all these comments saying bonus, all right? Bada bing, bada boom, people, whatever it is, the bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, bada bing, all right? All right, catch you on the next one. See ya.